بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم
Assalamu alaikum. Today it is Thursday, the 8th of July 2021, and in our series Reflections on the Holy Quran, this is broadcast number 232. And today we are going to start talking about the words of Al-Baqarah chapter 2, verse 89. Just to remind you that these broadcasts are brought to you by the Lahore Ahmadiyya community, which was founded by Hazrat Mirza Ghulam Ahmad. And his teaching was that although Muslims want to bring another prophet after the Holy Prophet Muhammad, but the Holy Quran says that the Holy Prophet was Khatamun Nabiyyin, and the Holy Prophet said, La Nabi Abadi, there is no prophet after me. So now no prophet can come, whether it's an old prophet or a new prophet, they cannot come. And this concerned the companions of the Holy Prophet Muhammad, who said that, who pointed out that Israelites had been sent many prophets and they still kept on going astray. So what will happen to the Muslims? And the Holy Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam replied that God will send reformers, mujaddideen, who will reform the Muslims. They will not reform Islam, but Muslims. And so he claimed to be one of those mujaddideen. But he also pointed out that the hadith of the Holy Prophet Muhammad contained prophecies of the coming of two great personalities. One called Jesus, son of Mary, and the other one called the Mahdi. And Hazrat Mirza Ghulam Ahmad pointed out that Masih, son of Mary, Jesus, son of Mary, and Mahdi were in fact a single person. They weren't two different personalities, and they simply reflected two different aspects of one mujaddid's work, and he was that mujaddid. And this was what was written on his tombstone: Mirza Ghulam Ahmad, chief of Qadian, mujaddid of the 14th century of Hijrah. And he also taught that Muslims believe that some prophetic revelation that the Holy Prophet received was not in the Holy Quran, such as Ayah Rajam or Surah Wilayat. But Hazrat Mirza Ghulam Ahmad rejected that. And he said that all prophetic revelation that Gabriel brought to the Holy Prophet Muhammad is in the Holy Quran. Similarly, he pointed out that many Muslims believe that some verses of the Holy Quran have been cancelled or abrogated. And he said that was wrong. No verse of the Holy Quran was, is, or ever shall be abrogated. And most importantly, Hazrat Sahib said that it is a duty of every single Muslim to conduct jihad. But jihad as defined by the Holy Prophet Muhammad The Holy Prophet Muhammad, when returning from fighting, commented that Muslims were returning from the minor jihad to the major jihad, which was a jihad with their own selves, with their own negative desires, such as jealousy, envy, anger, hatred, and so on. It's a long list. So, as I said earlier, we are now moving to discussing verse 89 of Al-Baqarah, chapter 2 of the Holy Quran. So let's turn to that. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم ولما جاءهم كتاب من عند الله مصدق لما معهم وكانوا من قبل يستفتحون على الذين كفروا فلما جاءهم ما عرفوا كفروا به فلعنة الله على الكافرين. And when there came to them a book from Allah, verifying that which they have, and aforementioned, they used to pray for victory against those who disbelieved. But when there came to them that which they recognized, they disbelieved in it. So Allah's curse is on the disbelievers. Today, we are going to look at the word Ja'a. Here it's Ja'ahum. And Kitabun. We've looked at that many times, but it's a very wide word, and it's worth looking at it again. There is also the point that not everyone listens to every broadcast. So if someone missed an earlier explanation of Kitab, they can find it here. And these are the three words we are going to look at today, after I've had a sip of water because my throat is getting dry. Okay. Right. So let's go to the first word, and its root is Jim Ya Hamza, and it is used in the Holy Quran 278 times in the form Ja'a. And for example, Walamma Ja'ahum, Falamma Ja'ahum, Walaqad Ja'akum. That was chapter 2, verse 89, the first two, and chapter 2, verse 92. So just to remind you that in Arabic what happens is that if you have nouns and so on and verbs, what you do is pronouns you add to the end of that word. For example, Maula is Lord, Maulvi. So E is added. My Lord. Maulana, our Lord. And that kind of thing. Kitab, Kitabi, my book, etc. So Ja'a is the same, but hum and kum, it means came to them or came to you. In chapter, where are we? Sorry, I've got hiccups. Chapter 2, verse 120. It says, Badallazi ja'aka minal ilmi. Ja'aka. So that is, has come to you. Ja'atukumul bayyinat. Again, came to you. And so on. And it means, as we saw, to come. But there's another word which is al-itiyan, and the two mean more or less the same thing. But itiyan is reserved for when something can be achieved very easily. And it also includes in it a decision to do something. So, you decide that tomorrow you will go to London. But even though you may not go, the word itiyan will include that intention. But maji'un will be used when we're talking about ja'a and ji'atan or maji'an. So, and maji'un will be used when you have actually done what you intended. So it also applies to a person or a place or time when someone decides that they will do something at a particular time or whatever, or a place. Like waja'a min al-aqsa al-madinati rajulun yas'a, chapter 36, verse 20. So from the other end of the town, someone came running. So that's place. وَلَقَدْ جَاءَكُمْ يُوسُفُ مِنْ قَبْلُ بِالْبَيِّنَاتِ, chapter 40, verse 34. And that is time. Previously, Hazrat Yusuf alayhi salam came to you with signs. Then, وَلَمَّا جَاءَتْ رُسُلُنَا لُوطًا سِيءَ بِهِمْ, chapter 11, verse 77. And when my angels went to Lot, Hazrat Lut alayhi salam. Notice the word Rusuluna, Rasuls used for angels. Ha'iza ja al khawf, chapter 33, verse 19. And when the time for fear, khawf, comes. So, as I said, it applies to place, it applies to time. وَإِذَا جَاءَ أَجَلُ أَجَلُهُمْ, chapter 35, verse 45. And then when their time is near, time for death is near. So here we're talking about time. بَلَا قَدْ جَاءَتْكَ آيَاتِي, chapter 39, verse 59. And why didn't my ayat, my verses, my signs, my commands get to you? I mean, this word ayat, we generally limit it to verses of the Holy Quran, and this is how it gets translated into English and so on. In Urdu, the word remains ayat, but its significance is not just that these are words of God. Literally, you could say it's sign of God, signs from Allah. So let's go to the next one. Where are we? Oh, the next word is kitabun. We've had this a number of times, but as I said, I repeat these things because not everyone listens to every broadcast, and it won't make sense to people if I just said, go back and see broadcast number whatever. So literally, al-katbu means that you take two bits of skin or leather and you sew them together. So, for example, katabtu siqa'a. So I took the leather, the container in which water was going to be carried, and I sewed it. So because we take letters and we put them together and make words and then sentences and write them. So this is why this word applies to that. But then as a metaphor, it also applies not just to the written word, but also to the spoken word. Now, there is a difference of opinion. This verse, I made a note that it says, Alif Lam Mim Zalikal Kitabu La Raiba Fi. That this book in which there is no doubt. And some people say that the Quran hadn't been written at that time and so on, and it's referring to God's revelation. Kitab can refer to God's revelation. But some people say that because it wasn't in the form of a kitab as we have it, a book as we have it, this is why the word is used here. But I will argue the alternative, the other point of view, and that is that Quran is called a kitab throughout, precisely because during the lifetime of a Holy Prophet, it wasn't in scattered bits and pieces as people generally say, but it had been, all these bits and pieces had been brought together. And a book had been created. So I would actually argue the opposite. And At the risk of repeating myself, I do not insist that I am correct. This is simply my opinion. I may be completely wrong. But, you know, my thinking has led me to this. That is all I would say. Um, so, Al-Kitabu, some people say that that is the root of the thing, or when you are talking about something in which something is written. For example, yes, aluka ahlul kitabi an tanazzila alayhim kitabam minas samai. Chapter 4, verse 153, I think. So, people of the book, they demand from you that you bring down a written book or written command from Allah. And here you see kitab is used, the same word kitab is used in two different meanings, I would suggest. Ahlul kitab, people of the book, that's Jews and the Christians, because they had a book, and that book was in the sense that we call it the book. Like perhaps you can see the books at the back. No, you can't see the books at the back. But anyway, like this. So they had a book. But then it also means those who don't already receive the revelation, and that they demand that, something written comes down from heavens. This is interesting, isn't it? I mean, they made the same demand from Hazrat Musa. The Israelites, they said to Moses, well, we don't really believe you because you disappear on a mountain and then you come down with some written commandments on tablets of stone, and you say, God has told you this. We don't believe you. We want to see God telling you this. And this was their demand here to the Holy Prophet Muhammad as well. Exactly the same demand. That what we want to see is a book descending from heavens with commandments. And elsewhere the Holy Quran says, it's not going to happen. But even if it did, you'll still find some excuse not to believe. You'll say, it's hypnosis, it's mesmerism, it's some kind of a trick, it's magic. He has jinn under his command who are doing it, and etc. So, a person who's not going to believe will find 1,000 excuses. Even if God was to come down and shake them by the arms and say, I am God, I reveal the Holy Quran, and so on, they will find some excuse, some reason not to believe. And then Kataba also refers to God's intention, God's decision. Kataballahu la aghlibanna ana wa rusuli. Chapter 58, verse 21. God has decreed, He has commanded, He has decided that His prophets are always going to succeed. So this is God's law, for which the word Kataballah is used. Or another place, Ullai yusibuna illa ma kataballahu lana. Chapter 9, verse 51. And tell them that no difficulty, no trial, nothing will happen to you unless God has decreed it. Ma kataballah. This is God's decree. God has decided this will happen, so it happens. So, and another verse where this word is used as a sort of law or something, a duty. Kutiba alaykumus siyam. The word used is kutiba, but its translation would be that fasting is incumbent upon you. It's your duty. Or another place, chapter 4, verse 76. Lima katabta alaynal kitab. Why did you make jihad? Well, it doesn't say actually jihad. This is a mistranslation. I should have noticed that earlier. Qital, fighting. Why did you make it our duty to fight? Alaynal qital. You see, this is the difficulty. You can see in Arabic, in the Holy Quran, the word that is used is qital, which means fighting. The word jihad is not used. But the notes I took from this book, and I didn't notice it, that the translator had translated the word qital by saying jihad. And this is the problem, that in many places where the word qital is used, fighting is used, translators and interpreters and so on replace that with the word jihad. And the Holy Quran hasn't used the word jihad. So Bala wa rusuluna ladayhim yaktubun, chapter 43, verse 80. And verily, they listen, and our angels, again, wa rusuluna, and our angels, they write everything down. So, I mean, just discussing this word is quite a long and extended thing, and perhaps I should spend one or two broadcasts just on this word, but maybe one day. And the next word is, the root is Ain Noon Dal, and it occurs in the Holy Quran 201 times in two forms, and 197 times it occurs as Ind, and 4 times as Anid. So as Ind, it means with before, from, like in chapter 2, verse 54. Inda bari ikum, with. Ajruhum inda rabbihim, with your Lord. Inda rabbikum, this is chapter 2, verse 76, and so on. But it also means near, close to. Indal mash'aril harami, or indallah, as in chapter 2, verse 217, near Allah, or inda rabbihim, with the Rabb. So, I mean, that literally means something that is going to come, something that is going to, sorry, it's not come, something that someone is proud of. So the person who is arrogant or proud about what he has. So the Holy Quran says, Kulla kafarin anid, chapter 50, verse 24. Every rebellious, ungrateful person. And there are discussions about slight differences between some words. For example, anudun, especially used. Al-unud means to incline to something. Again, anudun, it's especially used for a person who sort of deviates from that. Inda anit tariq, and that is he deviated from the path. And people, there's another word from these, another derivation, anada, and that means to arrest someone, to grab someone, etc. So it means basically, as I said, and then this applies to being arrogant and so on and proud, and that is someone who loses his path, who goes away from the right path. He separated himself. So he, if he had a belief, then he gave up that belief. For example, it's used for female camels. Another naqatu, that is the female she camel. And what does she do? She separates herself from the rest. So that is what human beings do. That a person who deliberately leaves the right path, you will call him anid. And the same thing, same word applies to the camels who do that. In Urdu, we have ma'anad, which means again, someone who opposes. Yeah, and that is one of the meanings in Arabic as well. To go away from, to separate yourself, to oppose, and so on. So with that, we've slightly overrun our time, unfortunately. These topics are so vast that it's very difficult to try and keep everything in that time. And so apologies for that, and also for the sudden kind of crash we had. So today is Thursday, so tomorrow we won't have a broadcast. Our next broadcast will be on Monday. I think it's the 12th. And then after Eid, we'll have a week's break. Tomorrow at 1300 hours, 1 p.m., we have the Friday service. And then on Sunday, we have the call of the Messiah. With the prayer that whoever you are and wherever you may be, may Allah keep all of you safe and sound and free from harm. Assalamu alaikum, Khuda Hafiz, and goodbye.